Tropical activity comes in clusters, and that is exactly what we are dealing with right now. A major hurricane, a tropical storm, and an invest all on the map.
That's right. Hurricane Beryl is once again a Category 4 hurricane, bringing life-threatening winds and storm surge to the Windward Islands.
Now, the storm rapidly intensified over the weekend and now is a well-defined hurricane with a powerful eye wall, and Beryl is breaking all kinds of climatological records out there.
Truly is amazing.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Well, thanks so much for getting your day going with us as we help you plan for the week ahead and, of course, the 4th of July holiday here for us. It's a holiday week for many out there.
Yeah.
We're trying to do some vacationing. Some are going to be doing it in a lot of heat.
Yeah.
Others going to be tracking some storms. And then, of course, what's going on in the tropics.
Yeah, of course. You see Beryl here below us. Just absolutely crazy storm. Typically, when you're thinking of planning your vacations, talking about me too, you think early July should still be pretty fine. You don't think about this, but that's not what's happening if you're going to the Caribbean. Yeah.
Indeed.
Well, time has run out for the Windward Islands to prepare. In today's big landfall, we're watching that next system that's behind Beryl. Lots of focus on Beryl, as there should be, but your eyes might go straight to Invest 96L as well. You can see Tropical Depression Chris there impacting the eastern portions of Mexico, and of course Hurricane Beryl, as we've talked about. Tropical Depression Chris with the winds at 35 miles an hour, moving west at 12 miles per hour now. It made landfall overnight, and it brought very, very heavy rain with it. It is starting to dissipate. It's going to continue weakening. That is the trend that we're expecting. That high future forecast radar shows you we're still going to have some rain moving through, filtering its way up into those mountainous regions, but overall it's going to be on the downward trend, still dropping maybe a few inches of rain, which comes into play when we've already seen quite a bit of rain across portions of eastern Mexico from Alberto, and then we're going to add more onto that, so that ground is already pretty wet. We've got Alberto, we've got Beryl, Chris. The next system that could get a name would be Debbie, and then of course Ernesto. We're off and running with hurricane season. So we've got to keep a look at Invest 96L. Now, we've actually just seen the possibilities of this developing kind of lowered a little bit, but that doesn't mean you want to let your guard down. You can see it here. We've definitely seen messier Invest. To say that it's still an Invest, I would say this is actually not a bad looking Invest. And as this continues to move westward, it is going to be impacting moderately favorable conditions for the possibility of some development, maybe a tropical depression by the middle of next week. Right now, a medium chance of that. You'll notice that it's following right behind Beryl. Typically, when we're talking about this, we're talking about how those very strong hurricanes are going to kind of well up some of the cooler water that might impact these storms. But this water's been so warm for so long, so that's maybe not as playing as much of a role as it typically would. You can see our development region once again. Interest in the Lesser Antilles are going to have to pay close attention to this Invest. And as you notice, Alex, we are very, very far from being over with hurricane season. In fact, we're still far from the peak, and we've got some pretty impressive systems already.
Yeah, I can't wait to see those percentages come down.
I can attest to that. I've been in Hawaii kind of in whale watching season, and it can get so windy, and it can really kind of change the day. We want to hear your story. Head to Threads and send us your comments, your pics, your video.
Yeah.
We want to see all of it.
Morning headquarters. All eyes, no doubt, are on this extremely dangerous Hurricane Beryl. There you can see the satellite view here behind us. Dangerous storm, and boy, getting very, very close here in terms of where that eye wall is to the islands there. You got St. Vincent there just to the north, Grenadines that trail back to the south, and Grenada as well, right in that path of this hurricane.
Oh, man, you can see it when it was going through its eye wall replacement. You can see at the beginning of the loop those striations of the storm breathing. It's just, this is a monster of a storm.
Yeah, and it'd be one thing if it were like the middle of September,
right.
But it's late June, early July.
Right.
And to find something like that in this part of the world, it's just something, Dr. Postel, you just don't see.
Yeah.
It is a rarity, no doubt about that. And like many tropical cyclones, the damaging and most destructive winds are compactly encircling the center. And I can show you that with some of the surface observations, guys. Thank you very much. Let's have a look at what we've
every day we're seeing some of those like record numbers of TSA folks getting screened through the TSA.
Yeah, I'm like, where are you all going? Where are we all? But this should be a really big travel week. If you're, say, headed to Dallas, or you're in Dallas and you're prepping for your 4th of July week, maybe you're taking the week off for the holiday. it is going to be a hot one until we introduce some storms on Friday. Even 91 is still hot, but it's not the 102, 101 that you're getting, and that is in the shade. So when you've got 101 sunny conditions and some humidity around, it's going to feel even hotter. As Alex was mentioning, where we have some of those drier conditions as well, you want to keep that in mind. It could be unsafe to set off some of those fireworks if it's extraordinary dry. So just watch that. If you're traveling today, we've got that risk for severe storms across portions of the northern plains. We've got that risk for a few storms for places like Florida as well. So if you are doing any type of air travel, that could be impacted for major hubs like, say, Orlando. Of course, looking up toward MCI, where we have that chance for some storms as well today. Heading into tomorrow, we keep that risk for severe storms. We actually up it a little bit, and we keep it across some of portions of the same region, the Central Plains over into the Mississippi River Valley. That risk for an isolated tornado can't be ruled out for cities like Kansas City, but you'll notice Dallas, that's where we've got the heat going on. We've still got the heat across the Four Corners region. That risk for some delays on the airways as well as the roadways going to be where we have that severe storm action tomorrow, and once again along the Gulf Coast. Heading into Wednesday, maybe you're taking off Wednesday for 4th of July on Thursday. We've got some scattered storms across the plains up through the Ohio River Valley, and then once again keeping a close eye on the Gulf Coast region for some scattered storms. Your typical summertime pattern could be impacting you there across Florida on Wednesday. And then for 4th of July, widespread rain. Alex, we're going to have to watch that forecast closely for those people trying to plan their fireworks. Well, don't forget our question of the day.
Let's talk about what makes Beryl so special here. That's in today's Coffee Talk as we focus in on this historical hurricane right now.
It's set a lot of records, you know, for being early, for being so strong, for intensifying so quickly. You can go on and on about Beryl, and it is happening all in an environment that is allowing it to happen, with water temperatures and the atmospheric parameters also giving it the green light.
You know, Dr. Postel, typically when we think especially about systems forming in the MDR, that's happening way later in hurricane season. When we look at this, do you think it's anything that is an implication as to what later hurricane season might look like?
It might. There is certainly some of the variables that are now working with Beryl that will still be there as we go through the rest of the hurricane season. You're exactly right, Felicia. That's a great point. And if you look at some of these numbers coming in from Beryl, I mean, it was the first Cat 4 on record in June, obviously the earliest one. We had one back in July of 2005. Many of us remember the 2005 season being incredibly busy. And we started off real early. Guess what? We're starting off real early again this year.
Yeah, when you're saying Category 4 and, you know, late June, early July, it's crazy.
That's
really
the thing, right? It's the timing of it, you know, that's really, really remarkable. And this thing got its act together quickly, rapidly intensifying here. And you don't see that happening very often in that part of the world, particularly, again, in the month of June.
So this is another really good point. What this map shows us right behind us is where we've seen this rapid intensification take place over the years. And notice it oftentimes doesn't really happen far out in the Atlantic. It's unfortunately typically really close to home.
Right.
So we don't have a whole lot of time to prepare, but this one had a special place in the southwestern Atlantic where it got strong real quick, where not many of them do, if ever.
Yeah, you know, I think a good time to remind everyone, if you're an avid watcher, you probably know this, but there's specific parameters that these storms have to reach to hit rapid intensification. When you don't just throw it out there and say, oh, it got strong really fast. And so to see it actually hit those markers, it was like,
yes, it's got to go up about 30 knots, 35 miles per hour in a day. And this one certainly got there. And when you look at the time of year, generally, where systems do this, it's normally later on in the season, right? It's like September. This is obviously in June, where not very many of them have ever done that.
Yeah.
Which is just like, it's eye-opening when you start thinking about, you know, where we are headed towards. It's an early start to things here when it comes to that.
It is. Now let's go back and talk about the placement of Beryl, because this map behind us shows you in historical terms where we've seen tropical development take place in the month of June. Look how so many of those dots are in the Gulf or nearby the Atlantic coast. So few of them, if any of them, are in the distant Atlantic. But guess what? You know where Beryl was? Look where Beryl was. How about that?
Yeah.
Way out there in unprecedented territory.
Dr. Postel, there are a lot of people that are watching this and they're thinking, oh, this is terrifying. So what would you say to the people who live in the Gulf, who know about rapid intensification, who get ready for the storms every year? as we head deeper into hurricane season.
You want to stay tuned. You want a hurricane that at least was once a major Category 4 hurricane move into the Gulf of Mexico. Typically, if we see it in a given year, it doesn't happen until much later. This is happening early. Don't wait till the last minute.
Yeah, such good advice there. Thanks, Dr. Postel. Well, you want to stay on top of the threats, as Dr. Postel said?
Yeah, personally, I've been watching Hurricane Beryl, hoping that it wouldn't impact my vacation next week. Or this week.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that you pay attention to, right? You got to kind of say, but I think for most people, go ahead and let the plans go, and you'll be okay.
Yeah.